Hi, and welcome back to No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. I'm your host, Priscilla Davies, and welcome back to another episode. Just a little check-in. How's everybody doing? I have been doing fantastic. I had a little shoot last weekend for Dropout TV. I don't know if you're familiar, College Humor, that's their new name, Dropout TV. And I had a shoot last weekend and we shot for a few days. And I'm still like riding that high. Like it was just such a great experience. Met some pretty big names. That was nice too. And it just was such a positive, great experience. So I'm just riding that high. I can't tell y'all about it really. I can't tell you what it's called. I can't tell you anything about it. What I can tell you is it comes out in July. So I will keep you guys posted. But it was a lot of fun and I'm gonna keep y'all posted on that. But other than that, everything's been pretty chill. So let's get into the show, y'all. All right, first and foremost, we're going to start with a little update. A little update about your favorite ex-president, Donald J. Trump. All right. So we have a little appeal update on his $83.3 million appeal for the E. Jean Carroll defamation and sexual assault case. So Donald Trump tried to request a temporary delay of the penalties. OK, and his lawyers basically said that covering that $83.3 million would cause the former president, quote, irreparable injury in the form of substantial costs. Basically, what they're saying is that money is too much. And if he has to pay that $83.3 million, he going broke. It will create irreparable injury. Okay. And so the lawyers for E. Jean Carroll pushed back on the delay, and they argue that Trump failed to offer critical information about his own finances to justify the delay. So that's the issue that, we've been having here is that this fool is talking about, this is going to create irreparable injury to me without explaining how. He doesn't provide any kind of financial notifications. He doesn't provide any information. And people are essentially just supposed to take him at his word. And so, of course, he was swiftly denied as per usual. Judge Kaplan wrote, quote, Mr. Trump's current situation is a result of his own dilatory actions. He has had since January 26th to organize his finances with the knowledge that he might need to bomb this judgment. Yet he waited until 25 days after the verdict to file his prior motion for an unsecured or partially secured stay pending resolution of post-trial motions. End quote. Basically, he said, you wasted our goddamn time. If you knew that you had an issue, you should have spoke up about this a lot earlier. And now you talking crazy. Denied. And so he was denied. And what do you think happened? A mere few hours after that, after Trump said, this would cause irreparable harm to me, he posted a bond for $91.63 million. Remember, he has to post a bond for 100 and some percent because he has to account for the interest. So the penalty was $83.3 million. He put down $91.63 million, which is 110% of the damages. So was this an irreparable injury or no? You just said that you didn't have the money. It would destroy you. It would be irreparable. And then hours later, you post the bond. It's like, this is what you're on trial for right now, dog. Fraud. Not on trial for it. You lost that case. And you still out here lying and obscuring your finances. Like, when does this fool ever learn? When does he learn? But I will give him this, he didn't pay this out of pocket. He posted a bond, which he secured from insurance company giant Chubb. Some of y'all might be familiar with them, but it remains unclear what collateral he put down. So he probably had to put down anywhere from 5, 10, maybe even upwards of 20% down on this $91.63 million. But they also are going to ask for collateral because it's a lot of money. And obviously Trump is known to be a shady huckster. right? So the question now is like, what other collateral did he put down? And, why does this matter to us? Well, this dude is running for president. And it's important for us to know if our incoming president is coming in saddled with $90 million worth of debt. And that doesn't include the $450 million he still has to put down for his other appeal for the New York City fraud case. So that's the question that we all need to be really asking ourselves right now. Where is Trump getting this money from? Because if he's saying that $83.3 million was irreparable injury, what that's saying is he couldn't afford that 83.3 mil. So if he couldn't afford that 83.3 mil, then that means he really can't afford that 450 mil that's coming down the pipe in less than 30 days. So the question is, where he getting this money from? And that's something that all of us should be concerned about with a presidential nominee. Is it a foreign government? Is it some shady billionaire who's going to drop $500 million on this guy? And if so, what is Trump going to have to owe them back? They'll have, they can hold that over his head. And how is he going to have to pay them back if he indeed becomes elected? So, I'm not just bringing this stuff up because it's salacious. This really impacts us, and we should be concerned, wondering where this fool is getting these huge sums from and who is he going to be indebted to as a result of it. So that is the update on the $83.3 million E. Jean Carroll appeal. Now, all he has left is the $450 million in the New York City fraud case, and we'll keep you posted on that. Let's stay with some politics, and let's slide into some politicking with Priscilla. Election edition. Super Tuesday just happened, y'all. And if you're like me, I'm sure you've heard about it, and you're wondering, what the hell is Super Tuesday, and why the hell should we give a damn? So I had to do a little bit of research because I was curious myself. Super Tuesday is the United States presidential primary election day in February or March, when the greatest number of U.S. states hold primary elections and caucuses. Approximately 1/3 of all delegates to the presidential nominating conventions can be won on Super Tuesday, more than on any other day. The results on Super Tuesday are therefore a strong indicator of the likely eventual presidential nominee of each political party. So basically, you stand to gain 1/3 of all the delegates that you need in order to win the nomination on this one day, which is why it's called Super Tuesday. Since 1988, no Republican has won the presidential nomination without winning a majority of states on Super Tuesday. The states holding primaries on Super Tuesday will vary from year to year because every state does its own thing. This year, Super Tuesday encompassed Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, and Virginia. And Alaska and Utah, they held caucuses, Republican caucuses, on Super Tuesday. And by the way, the phrase Super Tuesday has been used to refer to presidential primary elections since at least 1976. Okay. So, of course, Joe Biden and Donald J. Trump, they had decisive victories. They won pretty much across the board. Nikki Haley did win one primary, though, in Vermont, which is impressive, which actually, I don't know if I should say that was impressive. It was kind of expected because Vermont has an open primary, so anybody can come in and vote. They didn't have to be registered with either party. So Nikki Haley came in as a winner. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough because Nikki Haley dropped out of the Republican race for presidency after Super Tuesday. It was enough for her to finally call it quits. And honestly, thank you, girl. Thank you. Because your goddamn candidacy was dragging and droning on. And we was tired. And we're ready to focus on the two people who are really actually going to be running for president. We're getting a round 2 of 2020. Was it 2020? Yes, 2020. We're getting around 2. All right. And now, as of Super Tuesday, Trump now has 1,067 delegates. He needs 1,215 delegates to win the nomination. Biden now has 1,857 delegates, and he needs 1,968 delegates to win. So they're basically on track to winning the nomination. Nobody's really surprised here. The biggest story was that Nikki Haley finally dropped out. So that's Super Tuesday, y'all. Now you know what the hell Super Tuesday is. You know why it's important and how impactful it is to the presidential nomination race. And you know what happened in this year's Super Tuesday. So you're all caught up. You're welcome. All right, let's switch gears. A couple weeks, maybe like 2 episodes ago, I think I spoke about no contact parents. I talked about Monique and the comedian Monique and her eldest son and how they had an estranged relationship and her son had gone no contact with her. And I talked about how their relationship is part of a larger trend of Gen X parents and boomer parents whose adult children have gone non-contact or low contact with them. And I talked about it and I posted some of those clips on the interwebs. And baby, them posts popped the hell off because a lot of people, especially adult children of boomers and Gen Xers, resonated. A lot. I mean, I had so many people come into the comments. I posted this on my No Niche Zone podcast page on TikTok at No Niche Zone Pod. Make sure you follow. And it is now my highest video. It has it's almost at 900,000 views right now. And it's partly because people really resonated with it. And so I got a shit ton of comments, y'all, thousands of comments on these posts. And as I'm sure you can imagine, all of the Gen X and boomer parents whose kids have gone non-contact crawled out of their hovels to get into the comments and complain and literally do exactly what I was talking about millennial and Gen Z children are upset about, like literally proving the point. I got so many gaslighting comments and deflecting comments from these parents. And one of the most popular ones was, sorry that I'm not perfect. Well, you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I got that comment so many goddamn times. And I wanted to address some of these comments and some of the commentary that happened in these posts. First and foremost, telling people that you're not perfect when they call you out on bad behavior is gaslighting, y'all. It is gaslighting. When somebody calls you out on your behavior and you tell them that you're not perfect or nobody's perfect or they're not perfect, you are deflecting and avoiding taking responsibility for your actions. That's number one. And number two, you are flipping the script and trying to turn yourself into the victim. You are trying to say that, you know what? The issue here is not my behavior. It's not me. It's not the things that I'm doing that I could easily freaking change because it's literally behavior. No. The issue is that you are a perfectionist. You have unreasonable demands, unreasonably, irrationally high expectations. It's not me, it's you. You're the problem. That's gaslighting and deflection, y'all. So if you have parents that do that, check them and let them know. They're gaslighting you. Nobody's asking for perfection. We're asking for accountability. There's a difference. Another comment I got a lot, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what we've been through. Actually, we do, yo. We do know what you've been through because you've told us. We do know that you guys had hard lives, but that doesn't excuse bad behavior. Because what are you saying? Are you saying that if somebody's had a bad life, they can go around and treat people like shit and it's totally fine because it's fair? I had a bad life. You don't know what I've been through. So I was allowed to abuse you and treat you poorly as a child growing up. Of course, I had a bad life. I had a tough life. I got so many of those comments from Boomer and Gen X parents. And let me tell you, y'all, the vitriol. I can't tell you how many F-bombs got dropped in my comments from these Boomer and Gen X parents. Now, let me tell you something. I have 125,000 followers on TikTok. My at Pris the Goddess, by the way, follow me. On my podcast page, I have 10,000 followers. So I have read through thousands and thousands and thousands of comments since I started content creating. And I have never had one comment, not one fuck you in my comments, not one. And I'm telling you, I do all kinds of content. When I do my feminist content, I'm telling you, all of the angry boys get in the comments and they be coming for me. They drag me, they disrespect me, they come for me, but they've never dropped an F-bomb. Not once out of thousands of comments. And I got not one, not two, multiple comments from Boomer and Gen X parents straight up telling me, fuck you. That comment, you don't know what we've been through. It was, it started with F you. You don't know what we've been through. I was shocked. I was taken aback. And I gotta say, like, Gen X parents and Boomer parents, especially Boomers, y'all motherfuckers are mean. Y'all are really mean. Not only were y'all dropping F-bombs, but you were insulting my character. I was like, wow. And I'm telling you, I'm used to fielding mean comments. So I'm like, you know, pretty immune to it. And I was really shocked. And I gotta say, it kind of like triggered a little something in me because it reminded me of my childhood. And it reminded me, you know, I have Boomer parents. And, you know, I grew up in a Boomer world. Everybody were Boomers. Our parents were Boomers. Our teachers were Boomers. Our coaches were Boomers. All of the authority figures, you know, running our lives were Boomers. So, you know, I forgot what it was like to be the target of them. They are fucking mean. And it reminded me of being a child and how much like abuse we endured as children from these people, not just our parents, but also all of the authority figures. They talk crazy, yo. I mean, you know, how many of us as kids made simple, normal, everyday children mistakes, spilled the milk, and it turned into like your parents screaming and yelling in your face. Some people even got beatings behind shit like that for normal childhood stuff. Like, children make mistakes. I'm sorry that my fine motor skills haven't developed well enough for me not to be making mistakes like this. And it would be like, not just like yelling, but screaming in your face. That was all of elementary and high school and middle school. Teachers screaming in your face. I mean, it's wild how much abuse, how much verbal, emotional, mental abuse, and physical abuse, and other types of abuse that we had to deal with at the hands of these Boomers. And it was such a I got transported back when I'm reading through these comments, and I'm like, damn, these people just come for you. And it's wild. And that manifests in how they parent and why their adult children don't want nothing to do with them anymore. You're in my comments doing the very same thing that I'm sure your adult children have told you is the reason why they don't fuck with you. And here's the thing, Boomer and Gen X parents, the number one thing that is preventing you from reconciling with your estranged child is your goddamn pride. Period. It's your pride and it's your ego that is stopping you from reconciling with your low and no contact adult children. I have never seen so much prideful behavior from people as in my comments on these posts. Y'all got to let the pride and the ego go. Let me give you a quick little life lesson that I learned. When I learned to let go of my ego and let go of my pride and be okay with being wrong, be okay with being like, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. That was incorrect. Whether it's a simple, mistake in facts or a mistake in my behavior. When I learned how to let that go, the peace of mind, the drama that I've avoided, the headaches that I've avoided, I'm telling you, there's something so powerful about being able to just let that, that brick wall that forms in your chest cavity whenever you're feeling prideful and egoic, to be able to let it go. And it's like, oh, that's it. That's the end of the conversation. And a lot of you boomer, especially boomer, but some of y'all Gen X parents, a lot of y'all need to let the pride go. And if you do, you will be able to finally actually hear what your children are telling you, and actually take the effort and make the effort to change and do better and improve your relationship. But y'all, when we say things to you, instead of you hearing like, hey, this is what my child needs from me, this is what my child wants from me. Instead of you hearing that, y'all are hearing, oh, they're trying to make me do things I don't want to do. They want me to kiss their butt. That's one of y'all favorite phrases. Oh, I'm not kissing anybody's ass. What? That's your kid, dog. We're not talking about some stranger in the street. That's your child. If you're going to kiss anybody's ass, kiss your child's ass. And it's not kissing anybody's ass to respect them. And to respect their boundaries. That's the word they hate too. Boundaries. Yeah, motherfucker. If I don't like something, you have to respect that. And if you can't, okay, but stay over there. And don't come on the internet complaining that your children don't want to talk to you and they're so selfish. Oh, you guys are so ungrateful. Entitled. That was another thing I got so much. We're entitled. Yeah, we have a sense of entitlement to being treated well. Sorry. Most of y'all, most of us, we understand that you did your best, because that was another one of those gaslighting for I did my best. Yeah, we know you did your best, especially all of us who have grown up and become adults. Like, we know how hard being an adult is in this society. This shit sucks. It's a headache. We know y'all were going through it. We know y'all are the products of abuse. We know your parents, the silent generation before, we know they were treating you like shit. We know that y'all are traumatized. We know that y'all were suffering and struggling with everyday adult life. Y'all were in these toxic marriages trying to raise us. We know all that. And so we have given you the grace for that. It's not about, it's not about us acting like we don't know what you've been through. We do know, and we've given you the grace. The issue is that y'all are not changing. You're still doing the bullshit today. You're still doing the same stuff, and you don't want to acknowledge what happened in the past. That's the other form of gaslighting. Y'all have created these fantasy, ideas of what our childhoods were like. My mom is a big culprit of that. It's like, baby girl, you act like we were best friends. We were never best friends. You used to tell me that I'm not one of your little friends. And now that I'm an adult, there's this fantastical world of my childhood that you've invented and are trying to impose on me. And you're mad that I'm not rocking with it because it's false. And a lot of people came in my comments to tell me that that's their experience too, of their parents like trying to have these close relationships now when they never made that effort to cultivate those close relationships when they were children. It ain't adding up. And then the selective memory, how they forget all the things that they did to you growing up, all the horrible moments. I didn't do that. No, that didn't happen. And of course they forgot, right? Because for them, that was just a regular Tuesday. But for us, that's what we're sitting on our therapist's couch crying over for years, trying to work through. And the last point of contention from my comments on those posts was Gen X. Y'all motherfuckers, Gen X, y'all came into those comments and were like, not Gen X. We're not like that. Oh, stop lumping us in with boomers. And I'm going to say this to y'all. Gen Xers, bring it in. Bring it in. I'll give you credit. You're right. It isn't all Gen Xers. But it's about 50% of y'all. It's about half of y'all that are messy. Gen X, 50% of y'all know what time it is, have known what time it is, or are learning what time it is right now. Whereas 50% of y'all have followed in boomers' footsteps. Okay? And that's a fact. And I don't know where the line is. You know, some people said like, oh, it's because, it's the elder Gen X. They're the ones that followed boomers. The younger Gen X, they don't do that. They don't follow boomers. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know, it's about 50% of y'all that are fucking up. It's not a coincidence that most Karens are Gen Xers. That's not a coinky dink. Okay? So I love y'all Gen Xers, the 50% that know what time it is. As a millennial, y'all are the ones that showed us the way. You guys are the ones that told us to rage against the machine. And we did, and we are. But that other 50%, y'all followed in boomers' footsteps. And the ones that were in my comments that were saying, oh, it's not us, and saying things like, oh, I see why your parents don't want to deal with you. You're ungrateful, I promise you, y'all are the ones that are the 50% that followed in boomers' footsteps. Period. Point blank. Okay? Gen X, I need y'all to get it together. Y'all have been fucking up. You guys should have been politically active a long time ago. There's so few Gen Xers in politics right now. That's why we all are in a stranglehold from the boomers and the silent generation who should have given up power a long time ago, because y'all never came in to create, play a little offense for us. I need y'all to get it together. I love you, but I need you to get it together. So that's my rant on no contact parents. And let's move on, shall we? Great. All right. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but TikTok might be banned. Have you been hearing about that? Have you been keeping up on this TikTok ban? I mean, it's been going on for a while. Congress has been making efforts to ban TikTok for quite some time, but recently they took proactive steps. Real steps towards banning TikTok. The House approved a bill that could potentially ban TikTok in the U.S. The U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee unanimously approved of a bill that gives ByteDance, the China-based company that owns TikTok, 165 days to relinquish ownership of the app. If not, TikTok will be banned in the United States. Now, first thing I want to point out is that this was unanimously approved, and this is a bipartisan committee. So both Dems and Republicans supported this. Now, what they're saying is, TikTok, y'all got to drop ByteDance as your parent company, because they are a Chinese company. You got to drop them, or else you got to get out of the United States. That's the ultimatum that they've given them. Okay. 165 days. The Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act, talk about a mouthful, was first introduced on Tuesday, March 5th by Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, Democrat from Illinois, and Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican from Wisconsin. The PAFACA will ensure that the app is blocked from application stores such as Apple and Google. And so TikTok responded to the Congress. TikTok responded to Congress with the introduction of the PAFACA. And so ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, sent out alerts in the app urging American users to act against the legislation. Quote, stop a tick down. Let me take that back. Quote, stop a TikTok shutdown. Let Congress know what TikTok means to you. Tell them to vote no. End quote. By the way, I got a few of those notifications and we're going to talk about that. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, has also responded to the House's bill to ban TikTok. They referred to the legislation as a means of, quote, trampling, end quote, on the First Amendment. In a statement, they said, quote, we're deeply disappointed that our leaders are once again attempting to trade our First Amendment rights for cheap political points during an election year. Just because the bill's sponsors claim that banning TikTok isn't about suppressing speech, there's no denying that it would do just that. We strongly urge legislators to vote no on this unconstitutional bill, end quote. That's the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. So they are against this ban. Now, I have mixed emotions about this whole thing. First and foremost, I told you that I received multiple of these notifications on TikTok asking me to reach out to my representative to ask them not to ban TikTok. And I gotta say, my immediate reaction was, excuse me, TikTok? I know you're not asking your content creators who you treat like dirt to now go and campaign on your behalf to the Congress. My first instinct was, F you, TikTok, F you. Because TikTok is notorious for treating their content creators poorly. When I tell you, you can't get hold of not one goddamn human at TikTok. Any issues that you have, you got to figure it out yourself, because all you're going to get back are a bunch of automated responses that have nothing to do with what your issue is. TikTok be banning accounts. TikTok gives you content violations. There is absolutely no transparency in any of their policies and procedures. And even the top TikTokers complain about how poorly TikTok treats us as content creators. They pay the worst out of all of the apps. And let's be clear, like, all of these social media apps are messy. None of them are out here, treating people well. Some treat people better than others. YouTube, which is why I've moved to YouTube. Don't forget to follow me at No Niche Zone Pod on YouTube. Yeah, so a lot of these apps are messy in general, but it's known that TikTok is the freaking worst. And so I'm not gonna lie, I definitely felt some type of way when TikTok is like, hey, you know how we completely ignore you and never help you whenever you need help? Well, we need help now. And we want you to go and call your senator and call your congressperson to make sure that we can continue to operate and continue to treat you like shit and not pay you. So yeah, that was my initial thought when I saw it. Like, screw you, TikTok. How dare you? Now you want us to help you when you don't give a damn about your content creators or your users, to be quite honest. But then, I also agree with the ACLU because we know that this is definitely an issue of free speech. No questions asked. This is 100% an issue of free speech. TikTok has become a marketplace for ideas, new ideas. It's a very popular place for left-wing content creators. And Congress and those in power don't like that. TikTok is very influential as well. I remember watching, like, when all this first started with Gaza, when everything went down initially, I'd be watching how they covered it on different channels, especially MSNBC. And, they started out doing the same old hook, line, and sinker. We support Israel. We are allies with Israel. The same old, same old. And TikTok went ham on Gaza. And suddenly the media started covering it differently. And it became more like, oh, no, we care about Gaza too. We're worried about babies dying in hospitals too. this faux kind of like, equal attention to both sides of the issue. And that was a direct result of TikTok, especially social media in general, but TikTok especially. So, they don't want that free speech platform available because, yeah, it is calling out and pointing out a lot of the issues that we have in government, and they don't like that. And, 100%, I feel like part of this is to tamp down on free speech. So I agree with the ACLU, and I also I agree with TikTok in that sense. Like, you don't get to tamp down free speech. But then I also agree with Congress, because we know that these apps be stealing our data and selling our data and being irresponsible with our data. How many goddamn leaks every freaking day do we have from these apps? So yeah, I agree. We do need to crack down a little bit on these apps, stealing and selling and using our data. But that's a bigger issue, and it's not just TikTok. And that really is an issue of Congress catching up to the modern era. We talked about the gerontocracy in a previous episode, and how, because the gerontocracy is so out of touch with what's going on currently, we are suffering on the internet because tech bros are taking advantage of the fact that there is no regulation on the internet. It's the wild, wild west. That's why every time that you sign up for something or you buy something and give them your email, next thing you know, now your whole entire email is full of spam because they done sold your information off. So yeah, I agree with Congress in that sense. Yeah, we do need to regulate, but it needs to be an overhaul of the whole entire internet and all of these apps, not just TikTok. So yeah, I don't know which way to go with this. Obviously, freedom of speech is paramount, but I also think that, TikTok needs to sleep in the bed that they made. Okay? What do you guys think? Get in the comments online, get in the comments in our Discord. Let us know. What do you think? How do you feel about this whole TikTok potentially being banned? And, is this an issue of free speech? Is this an issue of protecting data? Is this an issue of foreign governments having access to our data? Is this an issue of transparency? Let us know what you think. All right. I want to close out on this article that I came across from ABC News. And the title of the article is "Mom Arrested After Making Drink for Son to Give to School Bully That Hospitalized Him." Now, I read this article, and let me tell you, I try to avoid these articles because once you read one of these salacious articles, your whole entire news feed is going to be salacious articles. But I just had to read this. So here's what happened. A Texas mother has been arrested after a drink she made for her son's bully sent him to the hospital. Jennifer Lynn Rossi, 45, reportedly mixed lemon juice, vinegar, salt, and Gatorade together in a sports bottle on Tuesday and told her son to give it to a classmate who had stolen his drink the day before. Although the contents of the drink were non-toxic, the incident resulted in the child being hospitalized. Hospital staff informed the investigator that the child victim required additional medical monitoring and would eventually be discharged from the hospital. So obviously, he probably was okay, but he did need to be monitored. Through the course of the investigation, it was learned that the mother of the student who provided the drink, quote, intentionally mixed the contents of the drink to allegedly prevent her son's drink from being stolen at school by other students, end quote, an official said. Rossi was arrested and booked into jail, where she was charged with injury to a child causing bodily injury. What do you guys think about this? I'll tell you what I think. the first thing that popped into my mind when I read this story was, why are you stealing people's drinks? Why are you stealing kids' drinks? All of this could have been avoided if you kept your grubby hands off of that kid's drink. The bullying aspect of it just threw me. And, as somebody who experienced a little bit of bullying growing up, thankfully I never experienced too much. I did have one bully when I went to Catholic school for 2.5 years out of my life. And I got there, and this girl who was a year ahead of me, and, and this is the thing. So I go to this Catholic school. It's like 97% white. Okay. What race do you think the girl who was bullying me was? Yeah, you guessed it. She was another black girl. It's just so wild to think that I go into this school that's like 97% white, and one of the only other black people in the school decides that she's going to freaking bully me. Okay. And what's so wild is, fast forward to after we graduated and we went to high school, I went back to public school. I did that little Catholic school stint, went back to public school. She continued on her Catholic school days, but we ended up coming back together for youth group at the church that we went to. And tell me why this bitch really tried to be my friend. Bitch, you made my life miserable for the first year that I was in Catholic school. I was like 11 years old. I had been ripped out of public school, had never been anywhere but public school before. And, was my, basically I got sent there on a punishment, okay? Because my, quote, grades were slipping. I got 1C, and that was the end of it for my parents. And, this girl just made my life hell. And so, but she was only one person, and it was pretty, I will say overall it was pretty mild. But I am really anti-bully. I hate fucking bullies. I really do. And one thing about me is I will beat a bully up, okay? And I should have beat that girl up. If I could go back, I would have just given her the 1-2 combo, okay? I never did. I was worried about getting in trouble. But that was my first question hearing this. Why the hell is this kid stealing kids' drinks? And what kind of parents have raised a child that thinks it's okay to go running up on a kid and just snatch his drink? How dare you? And I ain't gonna lie, I'm not even mad at the mom. I mean, listen, if she had gone in there and put like some bleach in there, that's a different story. Everything that she put in there was non-toxic. I'm sure the combination screwed him, all that salt and vinegar and lemon juice. But also, my other question is, how much did you drink to get sick like that? You didn't realize the shit was funny on the first sip? You didn't spit it out on that first sip? Salt, vinegar, lemon juice? Hello? But I guess bullies don't be thinking, But yeah, I just, as someone who grew up in an era where bullies were just running the world, and it wasn't even necessarily like straight up bullies, just like these, especially boys who would be out there just like wreaking havoc, just grabbing you and yoking you up and being rough with you and stuff like this. And this is the type of shit they would do, just snatch shit out of your hands. I feel for that little kid, and I see why the mother did what she did. I get it. But you made the kid sick and you got to deal with the consequences of your actions. And I hate that for you, girl. I really do, because I know you were just trying to protect your child. But unfortunately, the kid got sick. Maybe, I don't know, maybe his sodium levels got elevated and he started palpitating. I don't know. I wasn't there. So it's kind of it's a sticky situation, because I think the kid deserved it. He deserved that. We wouldn't have been in that situation if you had kept your goddamn hands to yourself. That could have avoided everything. But you got to be careful when you take revenge on people, folks. You got to be careful that you don't take it too far. And unfortunately, this went a little too far. And I get it. Like, none of these were toxic elements. So I understand why it's like, holy shit. But damn, I wonder what's going to happen to her. I doubt that she's going to do any jail time behind this, but who knows? I mean, she was booked into a jail, so who knows? I don't know, man. I'd like to see how this plays out, because I just can't imagine any judge or any jury putting a woman like this in jail. She probably gonna have to pay a little fine, a little finey fine or something like that. But what about the kid who was stealing the drinks and their parents? What about them? Okay. And I bet you their parents, the kid's parent probably was like, oh, my child, how could you? And did not acknowledge at all how this kid was terrorizing the other child. I guarantee you. I guarantee. So what are y'all thoughts? What do you guys think? Do you think that the mother should have been booked and gone to jail behind this? Do you think that she should pay a fine? Do you think that she was justified? And do you think that bully will ever steal somebody's drink again? Something to think about. Y'all, we have come to the end of another episode. This was a short one. I didn't expect it to be this short. I actually thought I was going to be running out of time because I had so much to talk about. But, sometimes you just get to the point, and I'm not mad at myself for that. Don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to follow us at No Niche Zone Pod across all platforms. Come subscribe to our YouTube channel at No Niche Zone Pod. I've seen some of y'all. Y'all keep coming out the woodwork, and I appreciate that. You can follow me at Pris the Goddess across all platforms. And you can, of course, email us in your listener letters. Write us in for some advice. Write us in, tell us some of your wild date stories. Tell us some of your wild nights. Tell us some tea so we can talk about it on the pod. You can email us at nonichezone@gmail.com, and you can find us on Discord at No Niche Zone Pod. That's it for us. We'll see you next time.